Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at 16 balance changes throughout 9 different brawlers, and it was actually leaked earlier today on Twitter, but that leak didn't actually have every single balance change, so no face cam today. I'm really sick, as you can probably tell by my voice, but let's just jump into it. Of course, we've got to go through the balance changes. So the first one is with Doug. So he's actually received 4 buffs. That is huge. Obviously, Doug is one of the worst brawlers in the game right now, so giving him 4 buffs in total should help him a lot. So the first one is with his HP. So his HP is going from 7,200 to 7,500, which is only 300 HP buff, but it is going to help him a little bit, especially because he has no range. A little bit of extra HP is going to go a long way. His next one is that his super is now scaled properly. So if you actually realized, when you hit 4 shots with Doug, it left like the tiniest little gap ever in the supercharge. So they're actually just scaling it, so at least it looks a lot better. The next one is that his super goes through walls, so this is a big one. I feel like his super wasn't actually the best, and especially because you couldn't really hit your teammates with this super a lot of times because it just lacks the range and you couldn't shoot through a wall. That's going to really help him out. And then the last one is that his super now resurrects them for 100% HP. This is a big one. This could be game breaking, especially for showdown. So I fully expect Doug to be one of the best brawlers, especially like 100% HP. That is crazy. So now moving on to the next balance changes we have with Hank. So Hank received 2 buffs with these balance changes. By the way, they should be coming around Monday. I didn't actually mention that in the beginning, but his HP has gone from 7,500 to 8,100, so 600 HP buff. It's not going to do the biggest amount of help really, because let's face it, it's pretty hard to play Hank right now, especially the fact that he doesn't really regen the way I kind of want him to. But then he did receive a super damage buff as well, going from 1,500 to 1,980. So again, his super is pretty actually hard to hit a lot of the times. I don't know if it's going to help him out a lot, but it is nice. Hank is literally unusable right now, so any type of change will be pretty good. I don't see him being like one of the best brawlers in the game. I see him still being down near the bottom, but at least a buff is welcome. So now moving on to the next balance change. It's only a small buff, and it's going to be with Gale. So Gale right now, he isn't really the best, right? He's probably a bottom 10 brawler. Doesn't really even counter tanks at the moment, and there's just other brawlers which can shut them down a lot easier, like the likes of Shelly. So Gale really isn't that great at the moment. He received a buff to his HP though, so his HP is going from 5,400 to 5,700, so only a 300 HP buff. Again, I don't see this really being the best of buffs, but it is a buff at the end of the day. I feel like it might be a little bit more usable, a little bit more underrated, but still the issue clearly lies in the fact that it takes forever to get his super, and he can't really chain it too well. So I don't really see Gale going too much up in the meta. Okay, so now we're jumping into another buff, starting with Jackie. So Jackie's one of the worst brawlers in the game clearly right now, and she's received a nice buff to her pneumatic booster. So at the moment, it boosts her an extra 20% in movement speed for 3 seconds when you click that green button, and now it actually boosts her for 4 seconds for an extra 25% movement speed. So if you kind of go back to the time where Jackie used to be a pretty strong brawler, one of the main reasons used to be because of this gadget right here, the extra speed. So I could quite easily see her being a little bit more viable, especially on some Brawl maps. You know, even on Brawl and some grassy maps, she was just terrible. So I can see her viability increasing a little bit, but of course she's not really the most versatile and still pretty easy to take down. Okay, so now moving on to the next brawler, and Brawl has been buffed 2 times, which we've been calling out for it for a long time. He isn't even usable in Heist right now, but I think after these changes he definitely will be at least really strong in Heist. So the first one is going to be a damage buff. So before, he used to deal 600 damage per bullet, and he has 5 of those bullets, so in total he could deal 3,000 damage. Now it's been buffed so that it deals 660 damage per bullet, so if you're literally on top of someone, you'll be able to deal 3,300 damage. So in total it's around a 300 damage buff, but this will definitely make him a lot more viable, as I said, in game modes like Heist. He just was overshadowed by other tank brawlers, you know, like Primo, like Daryl. I feel like he's going to be a lot more usable in most game modes, and also received another buff, by the way. His next buff is increasing his supercharge rate, so that will mean he'll get his super faster. Of course, getting his super faster means he's going to be more mobile, I feel like Brawl would be a little bit more usable. I don't really seem to be like really OP, right? But it's nice. I feel like he won't be a bottom 10 brawler anymore. So now moving on to the final buff. It is with Rosa, and she has received the tank trait. So if you don't know what the tank trait is, you can look at brawlers like Primo and Bull. Essentially, when they take damage, they charge up their supers. So I think this one, a lot of people could be overlooking that. I think this one's going to have the biggest impact on the meta. You guys remember when Rosa was first released? If you don't, it was literally Rosa Apocalypse. Literally, she had a super all of the time. You could just charge it so easily and just shred through people. And Rosa's super is one of the scariest supers in the game. So the fact that she's able to get her super a lot more frequently, I think it's going to make her a lot more prevalent within the meta. Because of course, the big thing with Rosa is that she just could never sneak up to the opponents. But now you could probably go over to the health gear, take a lot of damage, heal up a lot, and then charge your super through that way. So I think Rosa is sneakily gonna be a really strong brawler now. Okay, so now we're moving on to the nerfs, starting off with Cordelius. So again, one of these nerfs will actually miss out on the leak, so you want to make sure you're watching all of this. So the first one is going to be with his gadget. So his gadget, I think it's called Poison Mushroom, has gone from 1.5 seconds of a mute to 1 second. So of course, this is really nice. This gadget is just way too toxic. The fact that you can literally press the green button and have an auto super, of course, that was just way too strong. So I'm glad that has definitely received a big nerf. The next one is a huge one, especially when it comes down to showdown or just Cordelius in general. Of course, he's completely broken right now. It's the fact that you can't charge your super in the Shadow Realm. So the fact that before it was really toxic, right? You could just charge your super back. You could even just hide behind a wall and charge your super that way. It just led to your super chaining way too much. I'm glad they definitely took a nerf onto this one. Again, hopefully it changes the showdown meta as well. And then the last one is that he can't use his super in the Shadow Realm. So a really toxic thing was that you could just lock people in the Shadow Realm. Say if you've got like a tank, for example, you could keep charging your super really easy. Just keep super on them time again. And especially the fact that like in Showdown, this used to be a really prevalent strategy. It's going to be nice. So Cordelius, I feel like it's still going to be pretty strong, but at least he's been nerfed in the right categories. Moving on to another nerf, it is with Crow and his star power Extra Toxic. So before, he would actually get rid of damage by 25% from the opponents when they were poisoned up. Now it's gone from 25% to 20%. So for the longest time, I was saying that Extra Toxic was a really underrated thing about him, and it was one of the main reasons why he's actually so meta. Of course, he's got so many things going for him with his slow gadget, with his anti-healing debuff, and also the fact that you can just decrease the damage from the opponents pretty much all the time. It is ridiculous. So I'm glad this is getting some type of nerf. I still see Crow being a really prevalent brawler because his slow toxin gadget is just so strong, and just overall he's really versatile. So I think it's a nice nerf, but it's not really going to impact him the most. And going into the final nerf, we have Shelly. So her movement speed, it has been nerfed. It's gone from very fast to fast. So when Shelly was first buffed and people started to realize how strong she was, of course this is the thing that I wanted the most because it was way too toxic. The fact that they went from a normal movement speed to very fast, it was quite clear that it was way too broken. And I mean, as time has gone on, people didn't really want this nerf to happen, probably because Shelly would be a pretty bad brawler once this nerf comes into play. And for me, now going down to fast, I honestly think Shelly could be pretty much killed because with all things considered, now her Shell Shock star power has been nerfed, so that's not really going to be the strongest anymore. You're not going to be able to use Shelly on non-grassy maps. I still think she's going to be a decent option on those grassy maps because she's still got clay pigeons. But overall, I could definitely see her probably being like a B or C tier brawler now.